Mr. Cox, what's up, brother?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing
Good to
well,
see you
man.
again. Another week passed by.
Yes, sir, man. Back at it again, man, right?
Yep.
All right, man. Look, we got a good show tonight, man. But before we get started, hit that subscribe button, man. Smash that subscribe button for us so you can get all our content. We put all of our stuff on social media, out on X, Spoutable. You can get our full and shorts videos on YouTube at Gents Making Sense. Our handles on social media is at Gents MS on both Spoutable and Twitter. But again, hit that like button and subscribe.
Do it now, or I'll hunt you down. Smash like. Do it.
There you go. You heard it, man. Do it now. We do. Make sure you look at our shorts on YouTube too. That'll give you some idea of what when the large episode comes out, and show you some highlights on what's gonna happen. Go ahead, and tell them what we got today.
All right, man. We got a great show, man. Good show, man. We got a guest. We told you guys this year we're gonna focus a little bit more on bringing people on. We got when I pull up his bio, I'll take a look. But we're also gonna talk a little politics and a little bit sports at the end. But our guest is Mark Edwards. A couple things about Mark. He currently works for Fairfax County Department of Procurement Management and Budget. But he's got an excellent history that I think is very important for some of our young folks to learn a little bit about. But he is a retired lieutenant commander out of the United States Navy. Mark Edwards. He was born in Sandusky, Ohio, OH. Go back to the other slide there, Tony, a little bit. He enlisted in the Navy in 1985. He served 31 years. He is a former enlisted guy that became an officer. So I'm very proud of him. He was accepted and completed Naval Officer Training School in Newport, Rhode Island. During his tenure in the Navy, he received numerous awards and medals. So I'm going to bring Mark into the show as well as Tony back so we can get started. Welcome, Mark. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine. How you brothers doing tonight?
Man, we doing well.
It's great to see you. Great to meet you. Talk to you a little bit in our green room. Had a little conversation. Enjoyed it. It's always good to talk to a fellow military person, even though they're Navy. I'm surrounded by Navy people tonight, y'all. Surrounded.
That's right, brother. That's right.
Yeah.
So Mark, I mean, really, while we get started, I mean, I gave a really quick bio of kind of where you've been, man. But as we talked about a little bit in the green room, this podcast is really about people to share our reflection, man. We're trying to get our young men, and a lot of our young women, man, to see who's come before them, how they got there, that there's other paths than just sports and entertainment, that you can actually work, go into the military, bring yourself up, raise a nice family, through just hard work. So go ahead and add on to that a little bit and kind of talk to us about, your path and, why you decided to join the military, why you became an officer, and your career a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure. I come from a small town called Sandusky, Ohio, better known for having the best amusement park in the country called Cedar Point. I think as a young man, I always wanted to do something with myself after I graduated from high school. So in my room, I would always have pictures of the military. And I knew that that's exactly what I wanted to do when I graduated, because, I didn't think about college. I didn't think I was college material. So I said, well, you know what? I want to do something with myself. I didn't want to stay in the town. I've seen guys that would go in the military, come back home, and just doing the same thing that they did before they left. And so I wanted to be different. And I know that my brothers and sisters, they kind of stayed, in that area or stayed in the city. But I wanted to do something myself. So I thought the best way to get away was to join the military. And so when I joined the military, my first stop was San Diego, California. So I was very happy to travel across country to San Diego. And that's where I initially went to boot camp at San Diego. And then from there, I was on the ship. And so I started out as what we call a deck seaman. So I had just about every little dirty job that you could imagine on the ship, almost like a janitor. So I painted the ship, cleaned the ship. So I did all kinds of things. But I always knew that I could do something better for myself. And so I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. One night I was on a watch and I was saying to myself, I can do better. What do I really want to do with my life? Because I wanted to get out of the military. My first 4 years, I wanted to leave. After 4 years, I'm like, I'm out of this. But then I said, I can do something with the military. So I looked at what we call the hospital corpsmen, and I saw them on a ship, and I saw how they were helping people. And so I said, that's what I want to do. I want to be a hospital corpsman. So I wanted to get on into the medical field. And so from there, I was able to go to hospital corpsman school in San Diego. And so I never looked back from that point on. So I got into hospital corpsman school and actually did quite well in that school. And then from there, I went to some other hospitals and worked. And then, as I got around some of the Navy officers, doctors, nurses, healthcare administrators, I said, I want to be one of them. Yeah. And I said, what do I need to do to become one of them? So I knew I had to go to college. So I started going to college in the evenings and, I started taking one class at a time until eventually I earned my bachelor's degree on my own. And so then I started applying to become an officer. And I was a model sailor. I never got into any trouble. I was a good sailor. I did everything that I was supposed to do. And so it took me about 3 tries before I got selected. But I persevered. I didn't give up. I always said that I wanted to do better. And so on the 3rd try, I met some senior officer. Met one senior officer that really looked out for me and gave me the opportunity, and then I was selected. So life kind of changed from that point on. I became a naval officer. I went to officer indoctrination school in Newport, Rhode Island, and did quite well from there. And so from that tour, I actually was attached with the Marine Corps. So, which is interesting. A lot of times you think when you join the Navy, you never think that you're going to be with a Marine unit. And so the Marine Corps doesn't have medical. So right. It takes care of the Marine Corps. And so there, I spent a lot of time in the Marine Corps. And so I really wanted to, do something better with myself. And, I spent time with those guys, learned the trick of the trade. And then I wanted to go to graduate school from that point on. And so I applied to graduate school and I was selected, had some good endorsements, letters of recommendation. And so I went to grad school out in Monterey, California, and that was an experience itself. Now, at that point, I was actually raising my daughter as a single parent, so I actually was taking care of her, balancing going through graduate school, and my daughter was just starting kindergarten at the time, and it wasn't easy to get through graduate school. I mean, a very tough academic, challenging school. And then I had to help her with her homework and everything. So it was a balance. So as a man, don't ever think that you can't take care of your kids. I've done it. I've done it by myself. Matter of fact, I raised 3 kids.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I was getting ready to interrupt you and say, wait a minute, you mean that the narrative out there that Black men don't take care of our children is not true? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I'm telling you right now, I took care of mine full time by myself, full time.
But that's good. And then also I wanted to say before you continue is contrary to popular belief of people who think that naval fighter pilots are the big wigs in the Navy, enlisted folks and officers that work on ships run the Navy. Those pilots don't get anything done coming on the ship with that attitude that you see in the movies. That doesn't work. When you come on the ship, there's a few people that you need to understand run the ship, and that's boatswain mates.
I agree.
Enlisted people, like people who work in the engine room and dudes that drive the ship. Those are the people that run the Navy. So I know Tom Cruise has made fighter pilots popular, but they don't run the Navy.
Yeah, I could say they do. We definitely do the work, and then the officers, of course, a lot of times get the credit. Right. Because as an officer, you're in charge. But enlisted is the ones. I mean, they cannot do it without enlisted. I mean, I spent 12 years enlisted before.
But that's what I'm saying. I've always said that enlisted people that rise to the rank of officers are probably the best officers
Best
in
officer.
each
Yep.
service, not just the Navy, but the
Yep.
Air Force, the Army, and the Marines, because you got a full breadth of what's going on. You got a handle on what's going on. My career kind of was like yours. I went in enlisted, and I wanted to go officer because I went in with a degree and everything. But in the Air Force, it's a little bit harder, and without trying to be a pilot or a navigator, it's hard to get in the Air Force
Yep.
because they filled all their other officer positions through ROTC and
Mhm.
everything. So it's hard to get in there. But yeah, so I respect what you did, and we respect. I'll tell you, the enlisted ranks respect officers that come from the enlisted ranks a little bit more than the rest of the officers. No disrespect to them and their hard work, but we know that that enlisted person that's now officer know what we're going through.
Absolutely. So I could relate to enlisted, and what, like you just mentioned, I could relate to the enlisted side of the house because I was there. I did it for 12 years, so I understood it pretty well as an officer. And actually, being enlisted helped me to be a better officer as well too, because I could see both sides of the track and was able to make sound decisions because I know what it was like to be in a position and see someone that was in charge that didn't take care of you. And so
Yep.
I've had some good leaders and I've had some bad leaders. And so
Sure.
I said, when I got the opportunity to be in a leadership position, I was going to be the best leader that I could be. And so I took the good and the bad and been able to learn. And then I came in with my own style of leadership. And it was always to take care of people. And that's what I've always been about. I'm still like that today.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, you retired as a lieutenant commander, and I mean, lieutenant commander is not a junior rank, so you moved up the military officer chain pretty nice. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you navigated, that process of moving up the chain? I mean, obviously, people who aren't in the military don't realize that officers only get two chances essentially to uh, get promoted, and then they kind of cycle you out. So, I mean, how did you, how did you navigate that process as you were coming up through the ranks, from ensign, to, lieutenant, and I mean, captain, excuse me, go ahead.
Well, I think the biggest thing for me was that I found mentors. So I had a lot of mentors that showed the way for me, helped me, guided me, showed me different ways of being able to get myself promoted. So I've always felt that you should have a good mentor that you can talk to, that can guide you, someone who's been through it, someone who knows how to channel, different situations. And so I had a lot of good mentors, and they showed me the way.
I don't want to get that thought lost because as Suleiman and I talked about the show, we came up with this one question for you. We want to know what can we do, you in particular, to guide our young men in the world. So you said you had mentors in the military. Kids that are not in the military, young men that are not in the military need those same kind of mentors and stuff. And we're trying to figure out in the sad state that the United States is in right now with a whole lot of chaos, how can we, as men that's been through the fire, so to speak, mentor and guide these young men in the world today?
Well, I feel like we got to meet them where they are. And as we should be role models for the young men and talk to them and say, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. But you got to meet them where they're at. You got to be honest. You got to be open. You got to be truthful when you're talking to young men. They don't want to see that, oh, you're in this high position and now you forgot where you came from. So that's another thing. You can't forget where you came from. Always remember where you came from and be able to be relatable to the youth. And so that's one of the things that I enjoy doing. Even at church, I'm working with a youth group, some young men. And so I can, relate to them in, different ways, so they don't see me as just as, okay, Reverend Edwards, but they see me also as a teacher, but as a mentor, but as a person that can sit down and have a conversation with you and don't make you feel bad or that you can't be open. So I think that as men, we need to be role models in the community, where we work at, family, most of all, family, is being that role model and being that mentor. And not only just to some of the young men, but also to the young ladies too, so they can see what it's like to really have a good man in your life. So I think it's imperative, it's important. And to be honest with you, growing up, I didn't have that in my life. I didn't have a good mentor, a man in my life that could show me the ropes. So I had to learn, kind of navigate my way through the waters, and military was a good opportunity to help me to navigate my life. But I didn't have a mentor, and I wish that I had, when I was growing up. So, and then that's what I developed, having mentors when I went into the military, and it served me now because my kids, I've always, take the time to talk to them and, get them advice. And so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, Tony.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I'm glad you segued into that. And then I want you to kind of talk us through how you got out of the military and how you got to where you are now, where you and I met. But I think it's important. The last piece you brought in there is to be present, in your children's lives and your family's lives. And I always try to use people to counteract the narrative out there. And the reality is that there are more Black men that are in their families' lives than there are less Black men in their family lives. And I think that you are a good example. Tony's a good example. I'm a good example. And all the men that we hang around are examples that we want to show people. So my intention is to bring on as many people as I can to counteract that narrative that we're not present, in our children's life. So I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you raising your kids. I mean, I'm a believer that I don't think that, I don't believe anybody should get a medal for doing what you're supposed to do. But the reality is that you did it and you stood with your children and with your family. And I appreciate that as a man. I appreciate that as a Black man to another Black man for doing that. So thank you. But I know that you retired out of the military, and then you worked a few places.
Hey, before you go with that,
go ahead.
He brought up something that we also had on our docket too, and we might well get into it before he get into that, because he said something about, do we have an obligation to represent our ethic image and how we carry ourselves? I mean, you're doing our job for us, Mark. I'm telling you.
I know you hitting all the
I'm just being real. I'm just being real.
Yeah, and that's what we want. Be real. So, what do you think about that? Do we have an obligation to represent our ethic image, the image of a Black man, and how we carry ourselves?
Oh, absolutely. Because there's always that stereotype out there that we're not as smart as the others, or that we can't do the job. So yes, we definitely have to represent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we have to be that much more better.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tony.
Most of the time we have to be that much better, but we have to represent who we are. I think the way we grew up, older people, we've been through the military, we did all this thing. Like you said, to be honest with you, didn't have a good role model when you first came through. I think all of us at that certain age, I went in the military when I was in 84. So our role models were, you work hard, pull up your bootstrap, and you go to work every day, 9 to 5, you get a pension, and that's it. And your world is within this 25-mile radius. That's it. That's what we got for the most part. I don't know about y'all, but that sounds like what you were saying. I didn't have nobody on a ship, big ship, or doing anything like that with a big title or anything like that. The person that I had, the person in my life with a big title was a teacher, pretty much. That's it. That's the only people we saw when we were young. But as soon as I went in the military, I went to college. I'll put it that way. When I got in college, my mind expanded. Everything else expanded. My world expanded. And when I got in the military, it was limitless then, because I got to see the world, with that said, we have to let these young men know that there's something else out here besides this 25-mile radius that you go every day. Every day you do this 25 and you see the same thing every day. There's more out there. And the
Exactly.
stuff on TV, some of it's fake, but a lot of it you can attain yourself, you know? So, yeah, go ahead, Sue.
No, I wasn't going to add much to that. I mean, that's a very important question to me. And I will say that my life is slightly different. I mean, my mother passed away when I was 5. So my father raised us. My father was there. He raised my older sister, my 2 older brothers, and myself all the way through till high school. And, my father did something that I always remember, and I bring it up in a lot of the speeches that I give, which is, the state of Ohio wanted to separate us. When my mother passed away, the state of Ohio CPS came in and said, "Oh, well, we'll take up the kids and we'll get them taken care of." My father said, "No, you won't. You will not take my children and separate my children. I'm their father. I'm going to raise them." And despite all the deficiencies that my father had, I mean, he was an alcoholic. God bless him. He's born in 1930, so he had a reason to drink himself. I don't blame him at all for wanting to get away from what he was going through. But he stayed with us. He raised us. He raised 3 boys and a girl. So I had him as a role model when I was coming up. So to me, it's important in how I look, how I present myself, how I dress. I mean, Mark knows. I mean, typically I'm in a suit.
Dress man.
Right. And I do that not just because I do like wearing nice clothes, but I do it because I want young folks to understand that there's nothing wrong with wearing a tie. There's nothing wrong with a man wearing a blazer. There's nothing wrong with wearing shoes that don't have rubber on the bottom of them. So that's my way of ensuring that our ethnic image stays above the fray. Go ahead.
And I don't want nobody to infer that I was saying that we didn't have good father role models when we were young. It's just that our fathers' world was limited by their education. Pretty much. My father had a 5th grade education because he had to work on the farm. You had to work on the farm. You ain't got time for school. You got to work on the farm. So they did the absolute very best they did, because one example of that, when I was in college, my senior year, they were like, we don't have no more financial aid for you. We don't have no more scholarships. You owe us $2,000. In 1979, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to get your diploma and graduate. He took a second job and mortgaged his house and got me that money, So that's what I'm saying. We didn't know that there was nothing left. There was nothing else in the world but just that, working hard.
Yep.
So and that's a good lesson, but there's more to the world than that,
Yeah, and that's what this show's about, man. Is really getting those examples out there that that our people can see and realize that, our folks worked hard. I mean, you're in the position that you're in today, young folks, because of the stuff that our grandparents did. I mean, all of us are around the same age, and Tony, you're a little bit older than Mark and I, but we're all around the same generation.
I'm the old head.
Right, and most of our parents were born at the end of the silent generation. Most of our parents are probably born sometime in between the 20s and 30s, which is the end of the silent generation. Before they're the parents of boomers.
Yeah.
And it was all about work at that point. And my father used to always tell me that don't go out this house looking like a clown. Make sure that people see you, and the impression they have of you is what you look like. Before you open your mouth, they should already have an impression about you. So great conversation. Mark, did you want to add anything else to that?
No. I mean, I agree with you both. I mean, you want to make sure that you set a positive image, and like you said, in the way that you dress, and as you mentioned, Tony, in the way that you carry yourself. So I think that it's unfortunate that there's stereotypes out there, right? And what they think of the black man, or especially the angry black man. So it's really up to us to continue to set that path, for the younger ones that's coming up, so that you can see that, hey, you don't have to be this way. You can be this way, and and be successful.
Yep. Yeah, and we go right into the last question before we go into the segment that Suleiman want to go in, what you did after the military. But we do want to know who was that role model. You spoke of some mentors and everything, but is there one person that just stood out to you that just was on you every day?
I would say that there was a role model in the military. He was my frat brother. He was a more senior officer, and he always kept telling me, "Frat, you can be where I'm at one day." He always kept telling me, "You can be where I'm at one day." You know, and as enlisted, I was looking like, man, can I really be an officer? So this guy motivated me. Would always, so he was a mentor. So he would always, just challenge me and. He said that you can do it, and I still remember when I got selected to grad school, and he still was mentoring years later. Yeah. And he was saying, "Look, it's like a double-edged sword." He said it's a good thing that you got there, but he said that you got to get through it. He said not just get there, but you got to graduate.
Got to maintain.
Yeah, you got it. And I tell you what, it wasn't easy. I mean, I struggled a little bit at first, but then, I made it through because like I said, when I went through grad school, I was taking care of a little girl, young child. And so it was tough. But we did it. So,
and that's commendable, and everybody need to hear that story. And that's why we have platforms like this. And I think more people, we don't have to go through the regular news channel. We don't have to wait for somebody to come to us and try to tell our story. We tell our story ourselves. We get it out there as much as we can. I don't care if 2 people look at this, as long as those 2 people got something from it,
Right.
And that was how I was as a junior ROTC instructor. After I retired, I became a junior ROTC instructor. And my principal asked me something in the interview. He asked me, what would you consider a success? A success is if I say one kid's life and made sure that kid went to college, became a successful person, or went in the military, or just stayed here and became a successful person. That's a success there. What we get from there. And 16 years later, I got a F-22 pilot. I got about 3 or 4 Navy chiefs out there right now. I got about 2 Marine E5s, 1 Air Force E7, 1 Air Force E6. I got 1 young lady that owns her own insurance company. So that's a success for me.
Yep.
That's a success for me. So we always have that one. So good. That's good. Okay.
Go ahead, Mark, you want to say something?
I want to add something else. As I was growing up, one of the things as a kid, I never surrounded myself with any kids that was, getting into trouble. I always latched myself to, positive kids, and even some role models for me was older kids that was, doing good things. Yeah. And so things that I wanted to do. So I looked at some of the older kids and said, I want to be like that. And so, so there was a couple good role models growing up. Even though I didn't really have a good father figure, I looked at other role models and some of the older guys that were doing some good things. And so, I think attach yourself to good people.
Yeah, exactly. Suleiman, I think all our parents used to drink. All our fathers used to drink. Like you said, back that day, all of them drink. My dad.
Look, no shade, man. I mean, I'm very honest about my father was an alcoholic. I mean, he was a functioning alcoholic, but he was an alcoholic. Yeah. And to me, there's no shade. I mean, my father.
Mine's work.
Every morning he went to work. He paid our mortgage. We never got kicked out of the house. I was able to go to all the sports stuff I needed to. He did what he needed to do to survive. I have no issues with that.
Exactly.
But the second part of the question, Mark, was more, and Tony's heard me say this, so I won't get into the big spiel. But I've always said that, obviously I'm Muslim, but I obviously, I think that there's a very good role model out there. I mean, a model out there for us to use as a community. I don't know if people would want to follow that because it is very strict. But I always say to folks that the Nation of Islam is a model that Black people can use in order to get control of our community. I think the conversation that Tony and I were having a few months ago was, when you see a brother in a bow tie on Minnesota Avenue or Wisconsin Avenue downtown selling bean pies and final calls, you don't think he's a thug. That's not the first thing that comes to your mind. The first thing that comes to your mind is not that he's a thug. Or you see a Nation of Islam woman, the first thing that comes to your mind, you don't see her as a thought, or you don't see her as an Instagram model. You have respect for her because she's dressed appropriately, she carries herself in an appropriate manner. She looks respectable. Same thing with the men. I think that we need to have that type of understanding in our community, is that you can dress the way you want to dress. No one's going to stop you from doing that, but you need to recognize how people are going to treat you. If you dress like that, as a 50-year-old man with pants hanging down on your butt, or you got sneakers on and baggy clothes, understand there's a perception that comes with that. And I think we need to teach our kids and our young folks that, yes, we live in a free country. You can do what you want to do, but there are consequences to those decisions that you make. So do you think, is there another organization, that's mine, that I think we could take some lessons from? But is there an organization or something that you think would be a good model for our community?
Well, I think as being a part of the Alpha Phi Alpha organization, one of the things they pride on is mainly these scholarships, and so giving back to the community, taking the young men under our wings and showing them that there are things better for you. Here you are with a group of positive men that have actually, done some things in their lives. And so, you set standards, anytime you with organizations like that, there's standards that you set, and there's expectations of you, to set those standards and be a pivotal part in the community, wherever you at. So I think that the organizations, a lot of times when they think about fraternities, they think about the parties and this and that. But, when you really get down to it, you need to look at the organization and what they're doing in the community. Are we helping the community? Are we helping kids go to school? Are we giving out scholarships and doing things like that? So it's much more.
Can I get you?
Wearing the colors.
Can I throw something in there to get you to expand on that a little bit?
Sure.
That's an excellent point. But I guess I'm wondering, is that our fault as the Black community that we don't tell people what our sororities are doing, what our organizations doing? We spend more time on, like you said, the parties and how fun it is, as opposed to saying, because I'm not just a Muslim, I'm also a Mason.
Mm-hmm.
So Masons, Freemasons do a lot, particularly our Masons, Prince Hall Black Masons. We do a lot in the community.
So more to be.
Huh?
So more to be.
Well, man.
Yeah.
We do a lot of stuff in the community. I mean, so to get you to expand, should we do more to ensure that our people see what our sororities are doing out there?
Oh, absolutely. We should be doing it. And I think sometimes that we don't do as good of a job. One of the things I talked to my son that's in college right now, and I talked to him about, going through intake and, pledging into fraternity. One is just not even interested, but he don't really know the understanding of what they do, because all you see is like, okay, you look at it from a college perspective and you're looking at, okay, what are they doing in college? They're partying and doing other things, but there is so much more that's involved with it outside of school. And that's something that we got to make sure we're doing a better job of making sure people know those things, that, okay, we offer this. And so I think that, through some of the scholarships, maybe through some of the events, I just think that we have to make that more known to people.
Yeah. I'm a Mason also. And as in my journey as a Mason, I found out that although I really appreciate what I learned from the Masons and everything, and I appreciate the brotherhood, is we spend so much time in secretive that we don't get enough time to get out in the public. Yeah, we'll go out and feed somebody, we'll go clothe somebody, we'll go do that, but we never get into all the other good stuff that we do. And what's so bad about it, the Masons tried to do something about that by having these other arms and these other things. The Shriner is supposed to be the public part of Masonry,
Yep.
They get out and they do all this. That's the public part. We can talk about all that, but it
Yep.
became one of these things where you met and got drunk and you couldn't do nothing pretty much.
Right.
You know, that's what happened with the Shriners with me and stuff. I think we just stayed into secrecy so much. Just like a few minutes ago when he was saying he was a Mason, I said, so mote it be. Nobody knows what that means unless they're a Mason.
Except for Masons.
Yeah, exactly. So
like you say, from whence you come, and people are like, what?
Yeah, what are you talking about? You know, so that's good, and that's all good, and that's all well for us. But we have to do a better job. And those organizations, I don't know about fraternities right now, but those organizations like the Masons, Shriners, Eastern Stars, all of them are suffering because they can't get the young kids coming in.
Right.
You can't until you get these, and you can't say, well, ain't none of these kids good enough to be in the Masons. You weren't good enough to be in the Masons when you were young either, probably. So that's why you are here, to mentor them and get them in here. So until they change their thought pattern, and we've tried at several locations, we've tried. It's hard to move the older guys out because they like their station in life, you know.
Right. That's right. And if I can add one more other thing, it's faith. I think the churches definitely need to be a part of the community, and that's another avenue that can be a role model for some of the kids out there. And I think that the churches we need to do a better job of getting out there and especially reaching the youth. So that's another avenue. So the faith base out there, I think that we need to continue to work in our communities to bring the youth up. And so that's something that I like to see more of, even in our church.
Yeah. And just to add on to that, I mean, this is something else that I said before, and I don't take credit for this because I didn't say this. I actually heard one of the young brothers out of the Nation of Islam who was basically saying that one of the problems in our community is that because Mark is a Christian and I'm a Muslim, that we can't work together. And he said, what we like to do is to say, our community is a human body, and all of us are different organs. And he said the human body doesn't function without all the organs working together. We may not agree what the best path is to get to the finish line or to get our body to be 100% healthy, but we're all part of the plan. So he said, we as Muslims may work a certain way, but if my Christian brothers are working towards the same goal, a different way, we're going to work with them to get ourselves to that goal. And I think that's what we need to do as a community, is to say, you know what, I don't particularly like what so-and-so does, but I like where he's going. So maybe we can work together to push everybody up the hill with different, with different paths, but we're eventually going to get to the goal. So I think that needs to happen, like sororities and the Masons, churches. All of us can get together and get to where we need to be as a community, and not necessarily have the same goal. I think that's a division tactic that has been used in this country against us for hundreds of years, which is they're not doing it the way you're doing it. They're not the same as you. Don't work with them. So
exactly. We're gonna need transformational leaders in all these programs. We got to stop getting these transactional leaders like Donald Trump. Transactional leaders are leaders that want something from you, and once they become leaders, they're not going to do anything for you unless you get something for them.
Right.
We need transformational leaders that's going to transform these different organizations into, like you say, a living body that's working together for one common goal. Until we get that transformational leader like that, I think we're going to still be floundering and stuff.
I agree. Yeah.
Anything else to add to that, Mark?
No, I agree with having transformational leaders, because like you just alluded to with Trump, it's about what can you do for me, or what have you done for me in order for me to do something for you? What have you done for me, type of thing. So we need to get away from that. We need to lead and bring people up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to get there, man. I have the utmost uh, confidence that we're going to get there, but I really believe it's going to take people like us, who, I don't like that term. I'll be honest with you, I don't particularly care for that term, community. I mean, what does that mean? What does community mean? I mean, we're not monolithic. We're not just one people. We are a whole host of people, and not everybody has to be in the community. I'm a firm believer, through my faith, that people aren't put into your lives to be in your lives for 50 years. Sometimes people just are put into your life for a year, maybe 2, maybe 5 years to teach you something, to take something from you, to put you on the right path, to help somebody, and then they're gone. I mean, I know all of us, we all here can say that you've met people in your lives. I know I have. When I was in the military, I met a dude that I loved him to death. I mean, he was the smartest dude I had met. But when I got out of the military, I didn't talk to him anymore. And I hadn't talked to him since I got out of the military. But he was put into my life for a temporary time to teach me something, to make me better, and it made me a better person. So I think that we need to, as a community, start thinking about that and say, hey, maybe I just need to dip into your life for about 3 or 4 months or 6 months, help you whatever it is you need help with, move away, and then let you continue. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, most definitely. Most definitely. You know, there was a pilot when I first came in. I was an airman first class at the fighter weapons school, and this guy was a Wizzo. We call him a Wizzo, backseat pilot.
Yeah.
Uh, and he was from Fayetteville, North Carolina. North Carolina, like me, North Carolina A&T graduate. I graduated from HBCU. He graduated from HBCU. He respected me as an enlisted person. And back then, as you know, Mark, there weren't too many black officers around. You know, not too many at all. So for this black officer to look at me as basically a human being, maybe not equal to him in the organization we were in, but equal to him as a person, I mean, it meant a lot for me. And anything I needed, him and his wife got it for me. I was out in Vegas by myself. I just got in the military and didn't know nobody out there. They used to invite me over for dinner. He'd tell me take his 280Z and drive it anywhere I want to, or whatever. They were really nice to me, man. And it meant a lot to me. And he went to Kadena in Japan, and he came back to fighter weapons school. He was a captain when all this was happening. When he came back to the fighter weapons school, I had went to Korea. He had went somewhere else, and we both came back to the fighter weapons school. He was a full bird colonel, and he was in charge of the education department of the fighter weapons school. And he took a backseat flight on a Friday, and it crashed, and he died. Stuck with me for a long time, man, real long time. But the time he spent with me, him and his wife, they meant a lot to me, and he didn't have to be good to me at that time.
See, that's one of those. That's an example. That's one of those people that came into your life for a short period of time.
Oh yeah,
taught you what you needed to know.
So
go ahead, Mark. I think you was going to say something.
No. Again, I just agree with you. I mean, I agree with you. Yeah, you do have some people that come into your life for a period, and then you don't see them again. But I think that when you had that opportunity and somebody come in your life, you learn and give what you can, and try to be the best that you can, and from what you learn from that person. So
okay, we can go ahead now, Suleiman, to his present life. We can get into that.
Yeah, so I mean, we heard about you. You're being from the best state in the union, Ohio. We know that. Going into the military. But when you got out of the military, can you talk to us a little bit about your civilian life and how you and I end up meeting, at Fairfax County government? Just kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Okay, so one of the things I can say was when I was transferring or getting out of the military, it wasn't easy because for 31 years I was in the military. It's like being in a bubble, take care of everything, do this and do that. So it was challenges. They give you a week of what orientation about getting your resumes, doing this and doing that. But to me, it wasn't really good at all. It's like, okay, you're done with this, and now you're out in this world, and you're trying to adjust back to things. Now you're doing everything your own, whereas the military was helping you with different things. So it was. I had to really rely on my faith and just believe in myself, and that I could take all the training and all of the experience that I had, and then do the best that I can. So I started out with a couple contract jobs, and then I worked for Innova Systems, Health Systems, and then I came to the county. So and then that's where I met you, of course. And I had I believe you was on my board, and thank you for the opportunity, and thinking that I would definitely be a good candidate for the job. And I love what I do. Being the division director for material management under the Department of Procurement and Material Management has been an awesome experience. I have a good group of people under me. We do a lot within the county. So I'm very, very pleased and very proud of what I'm doing. And I've been able to take a lot of that experience that I gained through the military education and just experience to be able to bring that to the job that I'm at right now. And so I think that, a lot of times in your life, you go down these paths so that you can learn things. So when you get to the next, part of the road, you'll be able to overcome that. So I really think that the experiences that you receive in life, that it will serve you well down the road when you go to other endeavors.
Yeah, no, I mean, first of all, you don't have to thank me for anything, man. You earned it. You were the best candidate. There was no question about it. I mean, it was a clear cut favorite there. But no, I think that's what you said. The last few minutes of what you said was extremely important to the group of people we're trying to get to. Is that you got to work hard, put yourself in positions to be successful, and take advantage of the opportunities that come your way. Don't expect for people to give you anything. Don't think you're entitled to anything.
I agree.
You got to work. You got to work. And when the opportunity arises, I think that's some of the stuff that you and I had talked to, our mentorees about, is that opportunity doesn't come often.
Right. Exactly.
You only get maybe 1 or 2 chances in your lifetime for serious opportunities. And our kids, in a lot of cases, are not prepared when that opportunity arrives. And unfortunately, sometimes they get bitter, they give up, as opposed to preparing yourself prior to that opportunity. So when it comes, you're the best candidate, right?
And I think, Suleiman, that the experience that I've obtained in the military really helped me to go when I went after the opportunities. I was able to use that when I got out of the military, because again, it was none given to me. I had to work hard for everything that I received, from commissioning to officer to going to grad school to where I'm at today. Nobody gave that to me, and I worked hard for it. But there were some good people in my life that helped me. So I don't want to take all the credit and say that it was all me, but it was good people that was along my path that I listened to. That's different. That's another thing. Listen to that gave me good advice that I followed. So
I agree with you. That's a great way of putting it, man. I just a few of the things that I wanted to do with this podcast, man, is not just show good role models in us, but also to talk about, how a lot of times in this country, the role of our people who share our reflection is diminished. All the military movies you see, you don't see a whole lot of people who look like you and I, although we were there and that we participated in all the wars of this country. There are a lot of people, who share our reflection that have built the military up to what it is, that are very much involved in local government and federal government, that we don't get a lot of credit. So I'm glad that you were able to walk us through some of the stuff that you've done and where you are now. You and I work for one of the largest counties in the Commonwealth, and definitely one of the largest ones here in the National Capital Region. And
we got the largest county in the state of Virginia. We're the
largest county in the state of Virginia, population-wise. And then in the National Capital Region, we're the 800-pound gorilla in, the NCR meetings. You're sitting in a position that you're sitting in. I sit in a position I sit in. and a lot of people don't see that. So, having you on this podcast to talk about that a little bit was extremely important to me, and I think we're gonna get a lot of views of people wanting to hear what you have to say.
I'm happy to be here, and I just hope that it touched somebody's life and encourage them to do better in their life and stay motivated to be successful.
Yeah.
And one of the things I also learned in the military is that when somebody, and it was a mentor that taught me this, he said, when you get to where you need to be at, you reach back down and you bring somebody else back up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that stayed with me. And believe it or not, that was a white mentor that said that to me. He said, now you'll be responsible for bringing somebody else. I hope you get here. Now you bring somebody else up. Sure. And so I helped, and then it wouldn't matter if they were black or white. I helped them. I wanted to help people that want to do something with their lives. So,
and I'm glad you brought that up too, because mentors can come in all kind of shapes, sizes, and colors and stuff. They really can. The civil rights wouldn't have happened. Movement wouldn't have happened with certain white people and stuff.
Right.
So they can come in all kind of shapes and forms and colors.
Mm-hmm.
I've really enjoyed the conversation today. You are a role model. I can confidently say that just by talking to you and looking at what you've done and everything. And least of all has been assistant pastor of a church. That in itself, I know can be challenging. Well, I don't know, but I can imagine. I go to one of the largest churches around here, Ebenezer Baptist Church, and with Pastor Warnoff, Raphael Warnoff, Senator. And that church.
He's in Atlanta.
Yeah,
he's in ATL, man.
Yeah, I'm in ATL. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you where I was at. So, my daughter is in. She's in Washington D.C. I spent most of my time in the D.C. area, and that's where I met all these guys at and stuff. But when I retired, I came down south, got me a big house and stuff, for a small price.
That's what I'm looking at doing down the road.
And now I'm getting ready to get rid of it because my youngest daughter is going to college, and I'll be here. And we don't need this big house for just the two of us. That's for sure. So man, your journey is something else. From your from the private sector to the military, enlisted to officer, to what you've done since you got out of the military to being an assistant pastor and everything, and all while raising kids.
That's right.
You just tore up the myth. The same thing that we've been talking about for almost a year now. And you just made it possible to show and not just tell that it is possible and everything. And we'd like to have you come back for more shows. We always looking for guest speakers. If you got something you want to talk about, bring it here and we'll talk about it. If you got something you want to promote, bring it here and we'll promote it. You want to promote your church, bring them here. We'll promote that. We want to get the word. We want to get positive words out to as many people as we can. We are a small podcast right now. We got over 4,500 views. And so we'll continue to get those views. Probably we just started our new season. We were out for about a month and a half. So we just started our new season and we got 3 new shows out there and we got some shorts. We're starting to get some views. We'll probably be over 5,000 to 6,000 in the next 2 or 3 months. We need subscribers, but as long as people are viewing, I'm happy pretty much,
Yeah, we need to put it out there on social media like we do. And as I said, Mark, when you get this clip and you want to put it out there on your platforms, do that. We just want to have conversations, man. We're not trying to be Shannon Sharp. We're not trying to be, any of these large podcasts. Man. We're trying to speak to the people who don't normally hear from people who look like us, and our reflection. I mean, I want the younger version of Suleiman to see this video and go, hey, you know what? There's opportunities out there for us as long as I stay the right course.
Right.
You know, I want my daughter, or her friends, or, her, whenever she has children, to see this and say, hey, there are Black men out here that, that are not, millionaires or athletes or entertainers, that are just good character men, that, are suitable for husbands and, for as fathers. Tony knows I get on my soapbox sometimes. I don't want to, but I do want to say that, one of the things that we can do with our young women, our young girls, is to teach them that you need to be looking for character. You need to be looking for, men that have good character, men that, have good work ethic, not men that are, millionaires. That is something that is a small, minute fraction of the world. The majority of men are in the main.
Yeah.
Middle class to upper middle class is what most Black men are. And that's what we need to teach our young women to find attractive.
Yeah.
Is those type of men that are willing to help you, protect you, give you good guidance, be good family men, good marriage men, instead of the what they push to our TVs all the time, what they push to social media of what a Black man's supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, good.
Wonderful.
I'm telling you, man, that's what we need. And like you said, we're not trying to be Stephen A, Shannon Sharp, or any of those guys. They got producers with big budgets and stuff. We don't have a budget, and I'm the producer. Right. And we're just trying to produce the best information we can from regular people doing regular things that happen to be amazing, And I think you are part of that and everything. And like I said, you're welcome to come back here any day, anytime. Yeah. So go ahead, Sue. I don't think we need to mess this podcast up with the Orange Man drama today, No,
I don't think so, man. I think we should just stay with this, man. I mean, every time I think about it, I just realize, man, that our parents and our grandparents and our forefathers and mothers went through way more than we're going through. We're in a good place as Black men. We just need to keep building on what we have. So I'm not even going to get into it about him. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's it.
But to close it out, I will say this, though, is that, hit that subscribe button, like our videos, man. Come in and watch them. This is a good one with, Lieutenant Commander Mark Edwards, retired. If you got any comments about our show, man, hit our email at gentsmakingsense@yahoo.com. Visit us on social media, X and Spoutable, man. Looking forward to the comments.
But now, or I'll hunt you down. Smash like. Do it now.
Thanks, Mark, man. We appreciate it, man. And
it's been a pleasure, brother.
We'll close it out, man. We'll stay